Hi everyone, on this momentous day where we've made history, no matter what anybody tells you, okay, we have done a fabulous job. The digital team and all our supporters, the individual women that made donations, you can stand up and give yourself a pat on the back and know that you've done an amazing job, okay. The only reason we didn't win today, because it even says this in the judgment, is they fear that a victory would lead to a flood of new demands from other groups. Now, why is that any reason not to allow us our win? I mean, I can't believe they actually put that in the ruling. So we're not to worry about anything, okay? We are strong, we will never retreat. We move towards the opposition, as we are doing with the Cedaw People's Tribunal. Okay, for those who don't understand what that is, the primary goal is to eliminate discrimination against all women and girls. That's all women and girls all over the country. That's just not 50s women. It's, they will be part of it. It's about all women and girls. So we've gone from 3.8 million women who right now are devastated to half of the population of the country coming behind a women's movement, because that's what this is. It's not only the Cedaw People's Tribunal, it is a women's movement, and you are all part of it. So this women's movement, women and girls movement, will be about all women in this country, all girls in this country, standing up and saying what happened to 50s women is not acceptable to us. That will be one of the tenets of the movement. However, its broad base is about diversity and inclusion. So all women and girls will come behind the Cedaw People's Tribunal and eliminate discrimination against all women, so that nothing like this happens to women and girls again, or any other kind of discrimination that you want to name. We're going to eliminate it. So how are we going to eliminate the discrimination? What we're going to do is have independent judges. Okay, so we will have independent judges. And I emphasize that word because it's so important that you understand the importance of independent judges. Those independent judges, academics, witnesses, testimonials, there'll be a whole archive of evidence. And there'll be an advocacy team which is 9 strong now, with a superb team, leaders in their fields, cross-examining the academics and the witnesses, and looking at discrimination over the last 40 years, at least the last 40 years. Because that's when Cedaw was ratified in this country, and it's never been transposed into domestic law. So what you need to know is that the way to stop this, what's happened to 50s women, from happening to anybody else, is to come behind the Cedaw People's Tribunal. It's such fierce armoury, I can't tell you how infinitely powerful the Cedaw People's Tribunal is. And also, apart from the Cedaw People's Tribunal, we've been working behind the scenes with the Cedaw Committee in Geneva, and we submitted grave and systemic evidence about the impact on 50s women of the state pension escalation. And in brief, next month there'll be a session, the 77th session of that committee, and they will be looking at all the evidence we've given them. And it's a huge submission. I can't tell you the amount of work that's gone into it. And to get to the end game of that inquiry process under the optional protocol is amazing. Okay, there's only been 4 inquiries into the UK government under the optional protocol in the last 20 years. So it's a great achievement just to get to this 77th session. So what we anticipate is that the Cedaw committee will investigate the government about the impact of the state pension escalation on 50s women. So together, that committee, the Cedaw committee in Geneva and the Cedaw People's Tribunal, they are your vehicles to come alongside this movement, this women's movement. Okay, it will be half the population of this country. And because there'll be so many people in this women's movement, that is a voting bloc to be feared. And that's what politicians are about. Can we have your votes? So that's how we will influence the policy. We will write up the draft legislation for the Cedaw People's for the Women's Bill of Rights. And we will present it with the hearing outcomes and the reports. And we will say, this is whatever it is we find, whatever it is the advocacy team through the independent judges find. We will present it. It's infinitely powerful. It can engage with any inquiry, anywhere, authoritatively, even the police if we wanted to. And that's one of the outcomes of the Cedaw People's Tribunal. Now, the website for the Cedaw People's Tribunal is cedawpt.com. So that's CEDAWPT.com. Head over there and check out the amazing advocacy team, the steering committee. And by the way, students are still applying to come and be part of that CPT. I think the last count there were 250. We've interviewed many of them, and we've formed a team to support the advocacy team. There's several teams, is the short version, and each of these teams will be tasked to deliver certain projects. So the Cedaw People's Tribunal is your opportunity to join a women's movement. And as I say, the Cedaw committee, that would most likely be investigating the UK government as, you know, the discriminatory way that they've escalated the state pensions. So what I'm saying is, today, although people may be disappointed, and which was completely understandable, we, in the knowledge that part of the ruling said they fear that a victory would lead to a flood of new demands from other groups, I think that phrase will go down in history. And there is no doubt, do not let anybody tell you that this is anything other than discrimination. Everybody knows about the 9.8 million men who were given 5 years free national insurance contributions to retire at 60, whilst 3.8 million women were robbed and coerced back to work amid the pandemic latterly. If that is not discrimination, please tell me what is. And no, we weren't told. And pitilily, it was discovered that there were secret Whitehall memos where it was uncovered that he had stopped communications going out to 50s women. So we have proof that they stopped communications going out there. All this evidence, you know, I imagine many of you were familiar with. So never let anybody convince you otherwise that this is discrimination and that you weren't told. There is no doubt about those two facts. many other facts as well. But just because a ruling says, well, you've seen the ruling, whatever it says, keep in your mind that you were discriminated against and you were not told. We know from evidence all over the country, women write to us all the time about the impact of the state pension escalation. We know that that's the truth. We have evidence that it was the truth. Even Parliament says women were grotesquely disadvantaged. Boris said that he was going to sort it out. Keir Starmer said it's an injustice. How can that happen? How can they say that? And then the DWP goes to court with the Treasury Devil and his strong team of 13 use taxpayers' money to challenge the indefensible. It just doesn't make sense. Professor Alston said this is an unconscionable injustice, and that it's the misogynistic culture in Parliament is the reasoning for it. We know that. What we're saying is, what we're going to encourage women MPs to do is stand together, all of them, whichever party they're in, and stand together and stand up against this misogynistic culture, which they often talk about, by the way. And finally, get the Women's Bill of Rights transposed into domestic law. And as I say, we have a superb team on the Cedaw People's Tribunal, and they're well capable of sorting that out. And the most important thing that we'll have on the Cedaw People's Tribunal, and remember these words, is independent judges. And that the power of the Cedaw People's Tribunal is its independence. So I'm trying to read messages as they come up, but they're moving too fast. So what does this one say? Yeah, you're talking about letters and, carrying on. Well, of course, we're going to carry on. I mean, full restitution is our primary goal, and we will secure full restitution for 50s women by hook or by crook. We will do that. And these groups that go around saying, yeah, they're neutralised, by the way, and they have no autonomy, no consent, no authority to give away your property. So you should be shouting loud, do not give away my property, you have no consent from me, and we want full restitution, because that's what Cedaw entitles you to through the discrimination that you've suffered. There are so many people that have helped us, particularly yourselves here, and I know what it's taken for you to help us to do this, and every single person that has done anything to help us, we really do appreciate you. There's been some remarks about a shout out we did where I said no other groups contributed to the crowdfunders, because that is the case. They did not contribute to the crowdfunders. Individuals from all over the country contributed to the crowdfunders. We acknowledge that, and we value every single person who retweeted it, made the donation that they could afford, and encouraged other people to do likewise. And that doesn't matter, where you live or which groups you belong to. You came to us as an individual and made a donation and supported us for full restitution, nothing else. Right? So we will not be cowed by others who say, well, your case was dismissed today, and so we're going to go for crumbs. No, we will not ever accept crumbs. Ever. Nobody should accept crumbs. You deserve full restitution. All the years that you've been waiting, all the suffering, you're entitled to more than full restitution, actually. The least that you are entitled to is full restitution. So, you know, most likely there's going to be the APPG and whoever coming out saying, well, you know, we knew this was going to happen. No, they didn't. They feared that we were going to win. And no doubt that they've got some plans, and Tim Lawton will come out and say, well, I told you to drop the legal case and we would sort it out. But what he wanted to give us was JSA. Well, we can go and get that any day of the week. Then he denied that he said it, but I've actually got an email from the journalist who he spoke to, and he asked me to comment on that. So what we've been able to achieve is bring those accountable for this atrocity to the Court of Appeal and make them answerable for things that they would rather not have discussed or in the media. I mean, all day long I've been taking calls and Zooming with various media channels, etc. There should be quite a lot of coverage, I imagine at the weekend as well, to tell them our story. Now, had we not gone to court, the media would not have been listening to the full restitution argument. We know that. But what we've also been telling them is about the Cedaw People's Tribunal, and several of them have really taken up the mantle here, that they can't believe that we're coming back with armoury, and that actually we're going to be doing more than we ever promised we would do. We promised that we would do our utmost to secure full restitution for 50s women, but now, as I say, this is a women's movement. So what we're inviting you to do today, so that this never happens to anybody else, any other women and girls, or anyone actually, but you know, where Cedaw's concerned, it's about women and girls. We're inviting you to share with your networks and in the Cedaw People's Tribunal information, the Twitter channel, the Facebook page, the crowdfunder. I mean, the website is amazing. Kit and Mo have done a fabulous job in record time. You know, the overnight on Saturday, yeah, they were burning the midnight oil to get it finished. I mean, that's the dedication we have on Backto60. It's just amazing, and I'm so proud of being a team member of Backto60, because Backto60 is the best team. It has the most fabulous digi-team. They're so talented, and they've taken up the CPT learning curve and made an amazing social media presence. Amazing. You know, you really do need to join them, because these opportunities to make history are very rare. So if you want to make history with a women's movement, it doesn't cost you anything. Or maybe a donation to the crowdfunder if you're so inclined. But you can be part of making history by transposing Cedaw into domestic law. And once that's transposed into domestic law, elimination... Once it's transposed into domestic law, then discrimination against all women and girls will be done. And maybe, you know, the next generation coming up, or our grandchildren, they will be protected in a way that we are not protected. Every time there's a budget, COVID, the Brexit is coming up, you know, and the climate change, women always are suffering most. So we need to stand up and protect ourselves. I mean, when I first became involved in campaigning for pensions, I had no idea that, you know, I'd be talking to you now and encouraging you to join a women's movement, because that was never in my plan, let's say. However, I'm so thrilled to know that we've got this amazing team on the CPT who are willing to do as I've just described. So please head over to cedawpt.com, that's CEDAWPT.com, and have a look around at that team and take this up and encourage all women and girls to come together, because then we can say to the government everything that the Cedaw People's Tribunal will do, but we can say this is a women's movement and these women will transpose Cedaw into domestic law. And because there'll be so many in numbers, half the population of the country, the policy will, you know, there'll be votes to be had. So women in every constituency will be able to say to their MPs, right, get behind this, because otherwise, you know, whoever does get behind it will get my vote and not you. So that's the only way we can do this. We have to fight with the tools that they fight with, rather than less effective tools, let's say. So there's one more thing I want to say, and that is our legal team. In 2017, I was so concerned about all the women online who were saying about how they'd been impacted about the state pension age. And so I'd heard about Silence of Suicide, which, as you know, is Yvette and Michael's charity. And I went there and told them, and the short story is that a survey was done, and that survey exposed an atrocity, basically, of women who were having suicidal thoughts. Their lives had been annihilated. And out of that, thankfully, Michael agreed to represent us with a judicial review. So it was both Michael and Yvette that was the genesis of this journey, of this legal journey. And, you know, nobody else would have taken up that opportunity. I mean, Michael is known as the king of human rights work, and that's why we had world-class representation all the way along, right up to the Court of Appeal, because of Michael and Yvette and their determination to represent people such as Backto60 in the way that they've represented us. I can't tell you what an honour and a privilege it is to even be represented by Michael's world-class leading team, Henrietta, Kina, Adam, and this, you know, Bernberg Pierce team, Marcia, Hazel, Joanna, Carol. Really, people have no idea how what a gift that team is to this movement. They really have no idea of the work that went in. And yeah, there are, Yvette says, Michael and I send our love to you, Joe, and every single lady who is part of Backto60. That's so lovely. Thank you. So, you know, we are hugely privileged. And when we make our film, by the way, which will be called Collateral Damage, and that film is in my head. The concept of that film is in my head. And we will be making that film. And the judicial review Backto60, Cedaw People's Tribunal, Cedaw Committee. It will all be part of it. And we will show to people how to influence Parliament and how the obstacles that come up. And we'll show them how some with undisclosed vested interests come against campaigners, which we've experienced, and I know you've all experienced it, which is really sad, but we had no control over that except that we would report people behind the scenes, although we never spoke about that. We were proactive in the background. I mean, just today somebody sent an email and it was passed to the legal team. Yeah, I'm not going to talk about it, but makes you wonder where these people's heads are and their hearts. But last evening, you may remember, one of our Backto60 members, I think her name was Pat Aldridge Burke, she suggested, let's all pray. Let's all pray at 9 o'clock and light candles. So we invited everyone to do that, and it was so emotional. 500 or more women came on within minutes of us opening the site, and they lit candles and prayed together, and it was really moving. And I can't tell you what an antidote that was to all the toxicity, let's call it. We know that there are thousands of women out there who really care, who really support us. They send us lovely messages, and you know, they're a treasure to us, those messages. Text I've had today, emails, DMs, WhatsApp messages, everywhere. People saying, we love Backto60, we love everything you're doing, the legal team is amazing. And you know, I can't tell you, our campaign has run on fresh air, literally, and the goodwill of women, particularly in the Digi team, who literally work around the clock to deliver everything that is needed to keep this high profile, to keep people engaged, to do the right things. And I've said to the team that, you know, forever in their lives they can know that they've always done the right thing here with clear conscience. And we call them the best team because that is what they are, the best team out there. We have no competition. They are fabulous. All their energy is focused on delivery, targets, and getting things done. You may not see us on the streets dressed up, but we believe that our efforts are best utilised in the way that we've been doing, and it's proved it. And the only reason that we've got the ruling that we had today is because, as I explained, they fear a victory would lead to a flood of new demands from other groups. I think I'm going to actually frame that sentence. So I'm sure that you're all wondering, you know, okay, what happens now? Well, what happens now is we have a legal teleconference this week, and then I'll be able to update people what happens now. So I think that's, what's today, Tuesday? I think that's Thursday morning. So what I want to encourage is everyone to join this women's movement, and everyone to encourage others to join the women's movement and show them we will never retreat, and that full restitution is our primary goal. And until we secure full restitution, we will forever develop our armoury to ensure that happens. So seriously, you really must sort out this support for the Cedaw People's Tribunal. It is so important. I can't tell you how important it is. The team is amazing over there, and I keep repeating this. You know, that the young people, the students that have applied, their energy is just so uplifting. 250 of them and counting, and they want to deliver it. So let's talk about intergenerational fairness. You know, 50s women are always caring about others. So, you know, we want to work with these young people and tell them and let them know how valued they are, and include them in everything we're doing. So, can you imagine one advert and then we were deluged with applications? All volunteers, by the way. None of them are going to be paid. I mean, how impressive is that? So join these young people who are extending their hand of friendship to us and to everybody who wants to eliminate discrimination against women. So I need to go because there's several messages come in, and one of them's I need to do right now. So I want to thank everybody, and I do mean everybody, for everything you continue to do to support us. Okay, make history with us. Opportunities to make history are rare, but we can stand together and we can show them we are not cowed by anything they say and do. We will never retreat. We will walk towards the opposition who are running from us. Okay, that's how strong we are. We really believe that we can deliver the Women's Bill of Rights into domestic law. It's so important that we do that. We need to finish the job. The job is not over yet. And as I say, when the judicial review wise, I'll know some news on Thursday, and I won't know any news out of Geneva until, I imagine, the end of October. But we are not sitting on our hands. We're not sitting around waiting for them to delay and, you know, keep us on Pension Awareness Day, on the I think it's the Battle of Britain anniversary today as well. I mean, I'm sure that they're thinking, well, you know, let's get rid of them. Well, they couldn't be more wrong, because half the population of this country is going to be rising up to get this Women's Bill of Rights into domestic law. Be part of it. You can be part of it in a small way or a big way. You can just share the crowdfunder or share the website. You can make donations, or if you want to get involved, there's ways to get involved. But just spread the word for us. If you just spread the word, will be hugely appreciated. Okay, it's so important that you save lives, actually, of younger generations, your families. Indirectly, men will benefit from women having this Women's Bill of Rights in domestic law, because women are the ones who, you know, currently are the main carers. They look after children, they look after the elderly. Many of them have part-time jobs on 0-hour contracts, you know, out there on the front line. So we need to not wait for people for 40 years to dilly-dally around about why they're not doing things. We are going to say, here's the draft legislation, here are the reports out of the Cedaw People's Tribunal. And with enough people behind the Cedaw People's Tribunal, we will be able to easily influence policy and lawmaking in the way that I've described. Okay, it's not, what's that phrase? It's impossible until it's done. Right? We believe that we can do this, and we know how people will benefit from it. Women and girls, all women and girls will benefit from it. So I mean, I look at my own family, young people in the family, and I think, if what happened to them, what happened to 50s women happened to them, I'd never forgive myself for sitting on my hands and doing nothing. And I'm sure you feel the same. So this is a clarion call. Please, don't listen to these people who are saying whatever they're saying, you know, to discourage you. Okay, that's based on envy, really, nothing else. We have a clear conscience about everything we do, and we are sure that we've done everything we possibly can to deliver. We've kept our promises, every single one of them, and it's so important that our reputation is so important to us, and we won't let people with undisclosed vested interests, and one day those vested interests will be exposed, believe me, but we're not going to do it yet. We're going to be choosing the day and time we do it of our choice. But these saboteurs of women's rights, they know who they are, and they will be called out. So I'm heading off now, and thank you for your attention and your support and everything you are doing, and your understanding, you know, about the way I got one message actually before I go. I'm going to tell you, and it said, "Joanne, is this another stitch up by the judiciary?" And I didn't answer it because I, you know, this person, I'd never heard of them. I didn't know who it was from. But certainly from other people that I've spoken to, that's how they're feeling. So moving on, okay, because we can rise above this, and we can deliver a Women's Bill of Rights in domestic law. Just think about that. Think what that means. And I've put on at 2020 how to, it's a training course at the UN which is free to learn about Cedaw. So if I'm not making sense about Cedaw, it's a free course. It's just a couple of hours long, and it will tell you everything you need to know about how Cedaw eliminates discrimination against all women. It's time. It's time. It's such a good time to do this. And so thank you, everybody. And I'm going to be heading off now. But I will come back here. And, you know, trust me that everybody is working so hard. I can't tell you how hard everybody is working. They've had to learn about Cedaw themselves, you know, the Digi team. And we've got the students now helping us on the social media output, which is great. So please, if you're watching this and you think, you know, well, I could give some time, or there is something I could do, just get in touch and say, you know, can I help in some way? Because what you can do is, for instance, you could write letters, and you could use your social media networks to tell everybody about us. So, I mean, there are other people who are able to make donations and help us, but if you're not in that position, it doesn't mean to say that you won't be welcome to help us. So step forward and tell everybody about the Cedaw People's Tribunal, okay? And, you know, I'm so grateful to see you all here today, and I'm going to be heading off, as I said, but I will come back, you know, regularly. Other people will come back and chat to you as well. Now that the ruling's done, we'll have a bit more time to engage a bit more. So I hope you understand why we haven't been around for the past while. Literally, we've been rushed off our feet. So thank you once again. And, you know, I can't tell you, my heart is brimming with pride that about today. The way people have accepted this ruling, which is, in my opinion, it doesn't have any standing. Okay, this is discrimination, and you were never told. Well, some people, there were a few people we were told, but in the main, 50s women weren't told. So just remember that. It's just a piece of paper that says an opinion. Okay, we challenge that opinion wholeheartedly, and so must you. Okay, so take care and stay with us. There's lots of work to do on the Women's Bill of Rights. Remember those words, Women's Bill of Rights, transposed into domestic law. Okay, so thank you. Bye-bye. See you soon.